The Lazy Peon made a video called The Insane Popularity of MMO Private Servers, and I've been discussing this for a while on this channel. I've talked about it from multiple different angles, but I think user-generated content is the future of MMOs, is the future of gaming in general. So I wanted to see what the Lazy Peon have to say about this whole topic, about this whole thing that's been happening, especially as a classic player. Total WoW is one of the biggest private servers in the world. It's absolutely huge. So I'm actually curious to see what somebody that's been in the MMO scene for a decade has to say about the whole experience here. And no, Joe, I don't think any of the private servers are going to make a major comeback. I think aside from TWoW, they're all going to fall off and die. But private server hype and cycle will always be there.
In 2025, you won't believe how popular MMO private servers are.
TWoW, Toontown, Star Wars Galaxy's Legends, City of Heroes. I gotta actually up the graphics here because for some reason it's at 144p.
In 2025, you won't believe how popular MMO private servers are. Some of these games, despite being technically illegal, have been running for years and have higher player counts than a lot of official MMOs. If you don't know what an MMO private server is, it's basically an unofficial version of a game run by fans or third parties. They exist to either provide a different gameplay experience to the retail version, or as a way to preserve games that no longer exist officially. Basically, every MMO has a private server.
And the reason for that is every MMO is a private server because people don't want to play the official version of the game. You know, RuneScape 3 is a drastically less popular version of old school RuneScape. World of Warcraft Retail is a much more popular version of Classic, but people love the nostalgia and the dreams and the ideals of Classic. I can't speak for Toontown because it's been so long since I last tried that game, like well over, I think it's 2 decades, I forget exactly when it came out. But also, yeah, people don't want to pay for the official version of $15 here, or for the RuneScape bonds, or for Final Fantasy XIV's like subscription. So people like to play private servers because, you know, money.
Private server, but it's rare you'll hear about them as content creators can't stream them on Twitch without breaking terms of service. Despite the silence, the private server community is massive, thriving, and in some cases feel more alive than the official games themselves. In this video, I'll start by explaining why people play private servers in the first place, before diving into the most popular ones, both for today's biggest MMOs and for MMOs that no longer exist. This video was a hell of a rabbit hole to go down and took a lot of time and research to make, so please help us out with a like for the algorithm, and also subscribe for more niche, deep dive MMO content like this. But before we begin, a quick word from today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN. If you're new to VPNs,
So I'm gonna let the sponsorship segment play muted while I keep talking. I will say that in regards to the MMO scene in general, people are always gonna play private servers as they come up, especially when their version is effectively a dead game or a cancelled game, or it's updated so much that it's no longer the same vision they once had as a child or anything like that. So they want to play the games that they feel represent them or their childhood or their nostalgia or their ideals. It's why World of Warcraft has so many private servers. Nobody can agree on the definition of Classic Plus, right? What Classic's future should look like. So you have Ascension Bronzebeard servers, you have Epoch, you have TWoW, you have, you know, official like Everlook and different servers. There's so many variations to private servers that you may as well not even have one official version ever, because nobody will ever truly agree on what a private server is, what it should look like, what it should really be. People are stuck in this like mental rabbit hole, this crapshoot of, I want to play a game that I think is going to do amazing, but they just sadly don't have the ability to find that officially, so they have to go to a private server. It's why I've been saying for a while that whatever company makes user-generated content the next big thing, like makes an MMO on a user-generated content work, is going to be the biggest MMO on the planet. But I don't know when, if, how that'll be, or when that'll be. But it's going to be interesting to see the future of MMOs in general, because as it stands right now, private servers are getting more and more popular year on year on year. And there has to be a breaking point at some point. Total WoW got a massive lawsuit with the RICO Act recently as well. I think his ad segment is about
the rest of your online life safer in minutes. So why play a private server? Why trust some random third-party devs with your time, your characters, and sometimes even your money, rather than just sticking to the official game? After all, MMOs are built around a long-term character progression. You pour hundreds or thousands of hours into building a character that, ideally, you can keep playing for years. Putting all of that into a project that could shut down overnight sounds insane on paper. Yet millions of people do it anyway, and the reasons are actually pretty compelling. Let's start with an obvious one: barrier to entry. Some of the most popular private servers are for games that require a monthly subscription fee, such as WoW and OSRS. Even Final Fantasy XIV has private servers, although they're much smaller in scale. A lot of people just don't want to pay a recurring fee every month, or they live in regions where that cost is disproportionately expensive. And it's not always just about subs. Many official MMOs have bloated cash shops with pay to win, or sometimes even region locks. Private servers often go in the opposite direction, advertising themselves as no shop or no pay to win. So not only are you playing for free, but depending on the server, you might actually be getting a fairer experience too. Next reason: game preservation.
I will say on that front, he's absolutely correct. So many private servers are no sub cost, and you can get some nice features. For example, on TWoW, you can buy an auction house or a bank mount or stuff like that for 20-30 bucks. But it's not really pay to win. It's not making you a better player. It's not making you richer or more powerful or more effective against other people. You still have to earn your gold, play the game, etc. But you can pay for some cosmetic boons or little quality of life features that, help fund the MMO or the private server in this context. And a lot of people just don't want to have to pay a monthly sub. A lot of people are willing to pay 30 bucks, 60 bucks, even 100 bucks to play a game. But at the end of the day, a lot of people are willing to drop 30 bucks, even if they risk losing everything because the server shuts down, because it's their vision, their ideal version of an MMO, of a game.
The official servers shut down, private servers are the only way to keep those MMOs alive. And honestly, who can blame players for not wanting their favorite MMOs to just vanish?
This is me with WildStar. Though I don't play on any WildStar private servers, I really wish somebody would buy the rights to WildStar and do a WildStar 2 or reboot WildStar. I think WildStar could do really well in the modern day and age, and I'd be really curious to see what that ends up looking like or turning into.
It's these kind of private servers that I'd consider the least controversial, with some of them even getting legal blessings by the rights holders, like EverQuest's Project 1999, which has a written agreement with Daybreak, or City of Heroes Homecoming, which was officially licensed by NCSoft in 2024. Preservation servers also tend to be the most stable long-term. Warhammer Online Return of Reckoning, for example, has been running for over 10 years without any major issues. The same goes for Star Wars Galaxy's private servers or Nexus Forever for WildStar, projects that have basically become the de facto way to experience those MMOs today. Where things get a bit murkier though are
like I said, if the game is dead and there's no real money being made there, the right holders typically, for the most part, will be like, so long as you're not selling a copy and selling a full sub, do what you want. Get your donations, all that shit. We don't care. There's no money here. Yeah, you're making 20k per month, which is a lot for some people, right? But for a small studio running a private server, the right holder isn't ever going to give a shit about that. When something like, for example, Bronzebeard, TWoW, Ascension, Epoch, those are way different because the official game is live. You have Classic Plus, or Classic, the official game mode. You have Mr. Pandaria, and then you have TWoW, Ascension, all these servers where you can spend money. For example, for Ascension WoW, a new server that came out recently, Bronzebeard, you could pay money to get into the alpha. Pay to get in early. So that's when things get more more legally challenging and damning, because these companies don't want to leave money on the table, especially Blizzard doesn't want to leave money on the table.
Are the alternative experience private servers that run alongside MMOs that are officially still alive. These aren't about preservation, they're about reimagining the game. Sometimes that means rolling back to earlier expansions or a classic version. Other times it means adding entirely new content or expansions or a classic version. Other times it means
literally, I was just talking about Bronzebeard today, and what video does this man take the trailer from? And this video came out 6 days ago. He took a trailer from Bronzebeard's goddamn trailer. It shows you the far-reaching impact of private servers and how far and wide they're watched and seen. Because keep in mind, Bronzebeard isn't like a big name like TWoW, and it's still well known. Classic is such a huge niche, such a huge little industry, a subculture, that it's absolutely insane that to this day, new Classic Plus private servers get massive numbers.
adding entirely new content or experimenting with wild custom rule sets, whether it's Classic Plus style expansions or completely fresh mechanics. These servers exist to give players something the official version doesn't, and in some cases they become so popular that they attract legal attention, resulting in takedown notices or lawsuits from the rights holders. Other less significant reasons why people might play private servers include a sense of community. Many of these games feel more player-driven with community events and tight-knit groups.
So I've just learned that Bronzebeard has a 12-person queue. A 12,000-person queue is absolutely insane. For a server that just launched and probably has 5 to 10k people live right now, that's absolutely insane numbers that Bronzebeard is actually cooking that hard. It makes me worry that they're gonna get another big shutdown, because servers can't get too big. Once you get to a certain size, that's where Blizzard acts in and goes, nope, pull the plug.
That make players feel heard in a way that you don't get from a massive faceless corporation. And there's also the protest angle. Back in 2015, a lot of people joined Nostalrius not just for nostalgia, but
they joined Nostalrius because of the Overwatch boycotts. People were boycotting Overwatch, which is when Nostalrius got cancelled. The boycott went to like maximum, and then Blizzard made official classic servers because of Overwatch boycotts, and it was actually impacting things seriously.
As a middle finger to Blizzard for refusing to release classic servers. Even today, plenty of people love World of Warcraft but hate Blizzard, and for them, private servers are a way to keep enjoying the game without supporting the company behind it. So those are some of the reasons why people play private.
As a classic content creator, I'll tell you right now, I have never seen a player base hate their company more than the classic fucking player base. They absolutely despise, and I don't say this lightly, they truly, utterly, and absolutely despise Blizzard to their core. You have some of the biggest streamers in the classic space personally atting the devs and shit-talking them on the daily. So many people in the classic space do not like the devs, they do not like Blizzard, they don't like that at all. They're literally here to hate
servers, but which ones are actually the biggest today? Next, we're going to dive into the most popular private servers in 2025, starting with the juggernaut itself, World of Warcraft. The World of Warcraft private server scene is absolutely insane. In fact, some of these servers have so many players that they'd actually make it onto my yearly.
Hey, look at this, 44,000 concurrent peak players on a private server is absolutely insane. People don't realize how insane of a number this is. This is beyond wild. And I love the total active players across all regions, unique IPs, multi-boxing excluded, it was 500,000 give or take. Insanity.
Most played MMOs list if I included them. Turtle WoW, if you ever needed proof that there's some serious demand for Blizzard to make a true Classic Plus experience, then this is it. Because that's exactly what Turtle WoW is. It's Classic Plus with new zones, dungeons, quests, bosses, raids, and mechanics. It's become so popular that Blizzard have started filing lawsuits against the team. Before that though, Turtle WoW was reportedly peaking around 44 and 70,000 daily players at one point. For a fan project, that's absolutely insane, and those numbers rival mid-sized official MMOs.
It's bigger than mid-sized official MMOs. TWoW has more fucking players than New World. TWoW probably has more players than Guild Wars 2. It has probably more players than Star Wars The Old Republic. People forget how big these private servers are, and how much fucking reach and influence they really have. A lot of these companies don't give these dev teams the credit they really deserve. Let's be real here.
Another giant in the WoW private server scene is Project Ascension. It's been running almost 10 years and is basically WoW but without fixed classes. You mix and match abilities to build completely custom characters, with seasonal draft modes adding roguelike randomness. Ascension has stayed popular for years and nowadays seems to be more of a private server ecosystem rather than just a single server, which brings us to Project Epoch. Project Epoch is a classic plus WoW project built on Ascension's tech, expanding vanilla with new content whilst keeping the old school feel. It launched in 2025 and the devs reported over 25,000 live connections at launch. But literally as I was writing this video, Blizzard issued a cease and desist to several members of the Epoch team. Whilst the original devs are stepping back, Ascension has stepped in to keep the Epoch realms alive, promising to carry on development with a full roadmap of future content. So instead of vanishing, Epoch is evolving under Ascension's umbrella, which is a perfect example of how the WoW private server scene survives Blizzard's constant game of legal whack-a-mole.
Well, the issue is the Epoch servers got afraid and bailed. I'm sure they took the money and ran, and it was a good, easy way out. They enjoyed making it. They got too much hype and attention. They weren't prepared for it, so they left, right? T-WoW and Ascension do not give a shit. They're mostly based out of Russia, Eastern Europe, Kazakhstan, Hong Kong, places like that. They could not give a shit. It's absolutely insane. And keeping it real, keeping it a buck, Ascension looks goddamn amazing. It's SOD 2. It's SOD 2, and I love SOD. So Ascension looks insane to me. It's not Classic Plus in the same way as T-WoW is, because T-WoW is a journey-focused game with a very mid-end game. Whereas Epoch and Ascension, these other places, are a very mid-journey but a great end game. So there's got to be a pick and choose between the early game journey versus end game stuff. So I'm not sure what Classic Plus really officially needs, but it needs a good end game and a good journey. But it just shows you the power and popularity of these private servers.
Warmane's the final WoW private server
I haven't seen the Zaryu video for Ascension's trailer yet. I'll take a look later.
To mention, and it's actually one of the longest running WoW private servers, best known for its Wrath of the Lich King realms with roots going back over a decade. It still pulls in thousands of daily players across all realms, making it the go-to choice for anyone craving Wrath, with options for higher XP rates or even just a Blizz-like experience depending on the realm.
Warmane's pretty big,
The old school RuneScape private server scene has always been massive, but also extremely unstable. In the past year, Jagex have been especially aggressive with takedowns, partially because they had planned to launch their own official community server program, Project Xanaris, which was unfortunately shelved. But during that time, Jagex went super hard on shutting down RSPS, with popular servers like RuneWild and ICOV being forced to close or rebrand. Even so, the scene refuses to die. New servers keep popping up, with a few top contenders being Reason, Allura, August, Impact, and Ferox, each drawing in thousands of players daily. So far, we've looked at private servers for games that are officially still alive, but let's take a detour.
Well, why would you even play old school RuneScape private servers? It's a free game anyways for the most part. You can play it free. You don't need a bond. I'm sure it's mostly because of the double XP or the 5x XP and things like that people play private servers, but I'm not a big RuneScape player or old school RuneScape player, so I can't really speak for it. I'm not really sure why.
To look at a few preservation servers for MMOs that were shut down years ago. Some of these servers have been running for a very long time, and I bet a lot of you aren't aware that they're still playable for free to this day. Warhammer Online officially shut down back in 2013, but the private server Return of Reckoning has been keeping the game alive ever since. It's been running over 10 years now with thousands of active players, and actually has a development team that's still adding brand new content, balance updates, and events to this day. I've actually covered the Return of Reckoning server twice on my channel in the past, and every time I mention it I see nothing but positivity in the comments. Looking at their YouTube channel, they were still pushing new content as recently as a month ago, so maybe check this one out. Ultima Online is one of the first true MMORPGs and has always had a thriving scene of what the community...
I've been meaning to check out Warhammer Online again because I only very mildly played it back in the day. It wasn't something I was playing because it came out around Wrath. And then, I was playing Guild Wars 2 and Star Wars Old Republic, so I never really actually dived into Warhammer Online. So I want to check that out. A lot of these dead games having private servers makes perfect sense. Why on earth would anybody ever care? Let the people play their dead game and have fun.
calls free shards. These are basically private servers that the official developers have generally allowed to exist as long as they don't make money. The biggest free shard today is UO Outlands. Launched in 2018, it has become one of the most popular ways to play Ultima Online in 2025, and I even covered it recently in a first impressions video. Since then, they've actually revamped the new player experience based on my feedback, which is super cool to see. UO Outlands is free, features tons of custom content and quality of life updates, and regularly pulls in thousands of players. Definitely one I can recommend. EverQuest is one of the most influential MMOs of all time, and thanks to Project 1999, you can still play the original classic version of the game as it was in the early years, up through the Velios expansion. The server has been running since 2009, and unlike most, actually has an official agreement with Daybreak Games, meaning it's fully allowed to exist as
EverQuest is another game that's kind of always never made sense to me, in the sense of you can still play the original EverQuest. It's got a shit ton of expansions. It's still there. Then they launch fresh servers all the time. But at the same time, like, how popular is Project 1999? Every time I've tried to play EverQuest for a video or a YouTube video or anything like that, it's been a nightmare to get this shit to work, because EverQuest is such an outdated, broken game that my PC always fucking shits the bed trying to make any kind of OG EverQuest work.
long as it stays non-profit. It's completely free to play, has a healthy population of thousands of players, and has become the go-to way to experience classic EverQuest. Star Wars Galaxies is one of the most talked about, shut down MMOs officially.
It's slowly dying now as people who play it die of old age. It's a cold statement, but probably true. I don't see EverQuest like 1999 or any EverQuest keep growing or climbing. It's a much worse version of classic WoW. I know that's controversial for EverQuest players, but I mean, I stand by that statement.
Closing in 2011, just before the Old Republic launched. To this day, I still hear people gush about how good this game was back in the day, but thanks to private servers, it's never truly been gone. The two biggest private servers are SWG Legends and SWG Restoration. Legends is based on the game's later years after it was redesigned into a more traditional MMO, while Restoration recreates the original sandbox version, where you could build a house, run a business, or become a dancer in Mos Eisley if you wanted to. Both servers are still alive in 2025, free to play and actively maintained. I might be checking out one of these for myself soon, as I never actually played it back in the day.
I've never played Star Wars Galaxies either, but like I also don't see that being very popular. I think the issue is people idealize the nostalgia and the hype of these older dead MMOs, but they died and failed for a reason for most of them. I don't see most of these ever breaking 5k players in their life because there's a reason why they were not successful. Yes, WoW was better, but that's not the sole reason so many of these MMOs died. They died because they were janky, broken, or just unfun games. Now, don't get me wrong, the games could have definitely survived if, you know, they had better management, better this, better design philosophy, better ideation. But a lot of these games truly, like, I don't want to say deserve their death because I feel like that's uncalled for and callous. But they were unpopular games for one reason or another.
City of Heroes is a superhero MMO that shut down back in 2012, with many fans calling the closure premature since the game was still fairly popular at the time. Players begged NCSoft to bring it back, but nothing happened for years. Private servers eventually emerged to keep the game alive, with Homecoming rising as the most popular. What makes this one stand out is that in 2024, NCSoft officially licensed Homecoming, transforming it from a fan-run underground project into an officially sanctioned way to play City of Heroes. It's still free to play, gets updates and seasonal events, and even added a brand new server shard as recently as this year. Disney's Toontown Online ran from 2003
Well, City of Heroes shut down because of profit, not because of unpopularity. Like, the issue here is people always like to say, well, you know, if it was popular, you know, why did they shut it down? Money. These corporations always only think about money. Money is the only thing to... It's genuinely the only reason a lot of these MMOs died was because of money. Most of them had like 100k or 75k or 150k players, but MMOs cost so much money to make that when it doesn't make the money, a lot of companies just pull the plug and move on. That's the big issue. That's the big problem with MMOs in general, is people look at them as a But it was popular. It was good. It still had players, but it wasn't making money to justify the budget put into it. Money talks, bullshit walks. It's a very valid way of putting it, Eel.
Until it was shut down in 2013. But fans...
And that's an interesting statement, Zenfast. Star Wars Galaxies was the only MMO to gain subs during WoW's vanilla TBC era. It died when they changed it to be more like WoW during Wrath of the Lich King, took everything good about it and ruined it. That's something I've heard before, was that most MMOs died because they were WoW instead of unique games. Because why would you play an inferior World of Warcraft when you could just play World of Warcraft? So a lot of people just stopped playing the, other MMOs because they could just play World of Warcraft. Whereas the MMOs that were unique and interesting survived, thrived, and started to grow in that time frame.
Recreated it almost immediately with Toontown rewritten in 2014. Over a decade later, it's still going strong and has become one of the most popular MMO private servers in existence. In 2024, Toontown Rewritten reportedly had over 2 million registered accounts and between 10,000 to 50,000 daily active users, which puts it on par with mid-tier official MMOs. What's especially wild with this one is that it's the only private server I've ever seen that hosts real-world conventions every year called Toonfest, where developers and fans meet up in person to celebrate the game. WildStar was an action combat sci-fi MMO that shut down in...
And now we get to the depressing part of it. WildStar was such a fun game, and I truly was sad it died. It deserved to die. It wasn't greatly handled and managed. They've shit the bed on too many fronts. But if WildStar had come out 1 year later, at the massive decline of Warlords of Draenor, WildStar would have been massively successful. But WildStar came out at the wrong time. It came out in the hype leading up to Warlords. So when WildStar failed to deliver, people jumped to Warlords, and then they just fucking quit the genre. So WildStar came out at the wrong time. If it had come out just a year later, WildStar would have been insane.
2018,
and
after 4 years online. I'm still sad about WildStar because it was a genuinely fun MMO with a unique combat system and a lot of personality. Despite being a game many MMO fans pine over, there actually isn't a content-complete private server available for this one. The closest thing we have is a project called Nexus Forever, which I've covered on the channel in the past, but it only has a few zones and limited content. Terra on PC shut down back in 2022. It is still playable officially on console, but to play on PC, you're gonna have to play via a...
It is sad. I would love to play a full WildStar that it has all the content, just so I can truly see and understand the complaints people had for stopping playing it. Because WildStar launched at a time where, I wasn't able to really dive into WildStar. I had to play it very casually, and I loved it. So I truly wish that WildStar, honestly, WildStar Classic, fuck it, let's go, let it rip. WildStar Classic could do numbers. Actually, I kind of want to check that out, but I'll do that after this video. I'm going to check out who owns WildStar's IP.
Private server. There's a few to choose from, but it seems like the most popular one recently has been Terra Classic, which aims to preserve the original experience without the later years of heavy monetization. As of making this video though, it seems the server was recently hit with a security breach, so it's temporarily offline until systems are updated. There are other Terra private servers, but from the info I found online, they don't seem to be super active. Arcage's official Western servers shut down in 2024, but long before that, the private server Arc Rage had already been running as a popular alternative since 2017. It's free to play, has custom tweaks to cut back on pay to win, and still pulls in thousands of players at peak.
Arcade was another MMO that was top tier. I absolutely loved Arcade. It was banger. It was such a good MMO, so much fun, until it wasn't fun. It wasn't sudden, but it was, ooh, go fuck yourself. The decline was rapid, but the unfunness didn't hit immediately, but the decline was incredibly rapid.
With the retail game gone, ArcRage has basically become the go-to way to experience Arcade in 2025. Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean Online shut down back in 2013, but was brought back with a fan-made recreation called The Legends of Pirates Online that's still playable to this day. I've never actually heard of this one until researching this video, so I'm curious to check it out for myself. Raiders was one of the first true action combat MMOs alongside Terra that shut down back in 2015. It's still fully playable to this day with private servers like Raiders Global and Raiders Revolution. I actually covered one of these private servers on the channel back in 2021, and I remember being quite impressed with the game as it was quite ahead of its time. Elion was an action combat steampunk MMO that launched in the West on October 20th, 2021.
This one I actually did play, and it wasn't great. I played Elion, or Aeon. It was L. I thought it was with L. I thought it was Elyon, but hey, it doesn't matter.
Only to shut down less than 14 months later on December 6th, 2022. Elion died extremely quickly, but you can still play it to this day with the private server iElion, preserving the game for anyone curious to try. Whilst researching this video, I realised the MMO private server rabbit hole goes deeper than I'd ever imagined. In fact, there's entire websites dedicated to ranking private server popularity via voting systems. Other popular MMOs with active private server communities include MapleStory, Lineage 2, Aeon, Habbo Hotel, Metin 2, Night Online, and honestly, too many to eat.
As a Turk, I used to play Metin 2 at an internet cafe. Internet cafes are very popular in Turkey. I don't know if they're still popular. I haven't really lived in Turkey in like 7 years now. But internet cafes were so popular in Turkey. And I used to play Metin 2 like a motherfucker. I'd go to the internet cafe and play Metin 2. We were cooking. It was a good fucking game. It really wasn't good, but
you get the point. Most MMOs, dead or alive, have some kind of private server community, with some of them making big money through donations or their own pay-to-win cash shops. Either way, you should always do your own research and due diligence before ever playing a private server, especially the lesser-known servers where the risk of malware or stolen account details are much higher. With that said, I hope you enjoyed the video today and learned a bit about the MMO private server scene. I'm sure there's a few I forgot to mention, so if you can think of any other popular ones I missed in this video, then let me know about it in the comments below. This vid took a lot of work to make, so please help us out with a like for the algorithm. And if you're depressed about the state of the MMO genre and need a bit of hope, then click the video on screen to check out every upcoming MMO in 2025 and beyond. Social media on screen, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
There'll be a link to this video in the description down below. It's the Lazy Peon, great content creator, one of the OGs. Really solid videos, solid takes. I will say, as far as private servers and unofficial servers go, at the end of the day, people are always going to play them no matter how good an MMO is. Even if they made World of Warcraft 2 and it's phenomenal, people would suddenly start playing Shadowlands private servers or BFA private servers, because there's always a player base, a niche part of the player base that prefers specific versions, specific ideologies and ideas of games, and they want to play that version. So no matter how you look at it, private servers will always be some form or another popular and enjoyable for a vast majority, but everyone's going to enjoy different private servers and different elements of these games. But thank you all for watching. It's a second channel video, it's what it is.